What's up, Trainiacs? Welcome to this week's Triathlon Newsday Tuesday, where we discuss Jan Frodeno being out ski of Kona. Short course ITU triathlon wraps up for the year in a blistering fashion, and a triathlete does not get all he could eat. What's up, Trainiacs? Welcome to this week's Triathlon Newsday Tuesday, where every single Tuesday, as long as I'm not traveling, we discuss the goings-on around the triathlon world. As always, make sure you stick around to the end, where this week we will not be sharing everyone's favorite part of Triathlon Newsday, that being a story from the Trainiac community, because this week we are going to run a giveaway. So we'll tell you about that at the end. And as always, links to everything that we talk about will be in the description below. Let's start off by getting this out of the way. Jan Frodeno announced last week that he is out of Kona with a stress fracture in his hip. Save you all the details because I did a full video on that I will link to right up here, but basically, Frodo's out. Not gonna be in Kona, so stay tuned and make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see who I think is going to now be the favorite to win in Kona. Short course racing on the World Triathlon Series wrapped up over the course of the weekend at the Australian Gold Coast, with Ashley Gentle winning on the women's side in a sprint finish and Vincent Luis outrunning Mario Mola. Incredible. That never happens. However, over the course of the entire year, short course ITU athletes accumulate points, and the world champion is crowned based off of points and their performance over the course of the entire year. On the women's side, Vicky Holland won for the first time in her career, and on the men's side, Mario Mola won for the third time in his career, being the only athlete that's won 3 championships in a row since his countryman Javier Gomez did that. It was also announced while the Gold Coast ITU event was going on that the 2022 Grand Final event for ITU is going to be awarded to Abu Dhabi. Now, this is not the first time Abu Dhabi has held an ITU event. They've actually held one for the last few years that has gone quite successfully. They've never held a grand final, however, but they are putting more and more money into triathlon, and from what I hear, their events are absolute first class. Now, this is taking the world by storm, and I think rightfully so, because it proves how awesome triathletes are at eating. A triathlete named Jaroslav Bobrowski went to an all-you-can-eat sushi place in Bavaria, paid the $15.99 all-you-can-eat buffet fee, and did not get all he could eat. He apparently went on to eat 100 plates of sushi. When he went to the owner of the restaurant at the end, the owner would not even accept a tip and told him that he is banned from ever coming to the restaurant again. Now, Bobrowski, in addition to being a triathlete, he follows an intermittent fasting diet where he doesn't eat for 20 hours out of every single day, and in the course of that 4 hours, eats until he's full. He was not full. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. That's so cool. It was a very quiet week on the Ironman racing circuit. The only Ironman race with pro triathletes in it was Half Ironman 70.3 Nice, which was held on the course that is going to be the course for the Half Ironman World Championships in 2019. New pal that I met while I was in Boulder, Rudy Von Berg, won on the men's side in 4:09:50, while on the women's side, Menon Gannett won in 4:46:30. Now, you may be thinking that these aren't fast times, and fact of the matter is that they aren't. However, former coach Pat, he did some cycling this summer in Nice. He biked the course that the Half Ironman World Championship and this course was on. He said it's just an outright road bike course. So for those of you who are planning on racing Nice, get your aero bars ready and get yourself a road bike. Now, before we get into the giveaway to wrap up today in podcast land, we just published a full recap to wrap up all of our coverage of the Half Ironman World Championships, where NTK and I, we sat right across from each other here, discussing the pro triathletes race in Half Ironman Worlds and basically what it means that Daniela and Lucy went head to head, and what it means that Javier and Jan and Alistair went head to head, what it means for the sport going forward. What were some things that we didn't cover in the race because there were a lot of peculiarities, like why was Daniela Ryf allowed to race with her top completely open when that disqualifies age groupers? Who is going to be the next thing, or is Jan going to be the next thing for a number of years in full distance racing when it comes to Alistair versus Jan versus Javier? All of that we talk about, and this coming week, if you aren't already subscribed to the Triathlon Terran podcast, which just so happens to be the top rated tri podcast in the world on Apple Podcasts, we will be publishing our interview with Lucy Charles this Sunday, so stay tuned for that. Now, to wrap up this week's Triathlon Newsday Tuesday, we are running a giveaway at the moment with one of our podcast sponsors, New Wave Swim Boy. Now, if you don't listen to the podcast, you might not know that even though I am a fairly confident open water swimmer, I have actually really grown to like New Wave Swim Boy because as I was doing a bunch of my training this year in the Red River in Winnipeg, I was finding that boats couldn't see me. I was getting buzzed a lot by canoers, kayakers, rowers, even like motorboats, and I put on New Wave Swim Boy, just let it dangle around, can't feel it all, it doesn't drag whatsoever, but those boats end up going a long way away because they can apparently see me from miles away. So I allowed them to sponsor the podcast, and we are currently running a giveaway with them where there are 5 total prize packages amounting to $300 cumulative, where you can win New Wave Swim Boy, you can win some goggles, you can win some hand paddles, a swimming towel, I think a mesh bag. All those things are available to you. 5 total prize packages, and you enter by clicking the first link that you see in the description below. Now that said, we are not ending the Trainiac stories that we do every week on this week's Triathlon Newsday Tuesday. If you have a story that you want to share with the Trainiac community, I think we've only got a handful left, so get us topped back up by emailing me at Terran@triathlonterran.com. And if you aren't yet subscribed and you dig these Triathlon Newsdays, hit the subscribe button below. Later, Trainiacs. Quick one today. I think it's gonna be quick. Gonna guess 6 minutes, 47 seconds.